Good morning, welcome to Wishwell Farms for another beautiful day on the farm. My name's Jason, and today we will be harvesting a bunch of green beans with the OXBO BH100 one-row bean harvester. All right, we're just about ready to head down to the field. I had to finish up our trailer first, heading off to our satellite location. Got her all stocked up and ready to go. And today, for the first time this season, we are sending out our green trailer to a new location. This is also in the same city as the other trailer, Marysville, Ohio. It's about 5 miles down the road on a different route at Dutch Mill Greenhouse. I have no idea how it's gonna go, so I packed her pretty light. She only has like 8 boxes of tomatoes, 30 dozen ears of corn. Pretty light packing on these items here, only 30 cantaloupe and 16 watermelon and 3 boxes of peaches. So only about a third of what we put on our other trailer, but I just don't want to load it down with a huge amount of produce not knowing how it's gonna do. This is kind of a risk I'm taking today, sending this out to a new location. And I don't really have high hopes for it, to be honest with you, but we're gonna try it out once and see how it goes. And if it tanks, we won't be going back. But if it does well, we're gonna go every Tuesday and Thursday. I'll let you know how it does. I realize there's many of you who may be new to my channel that are curious about how this OXBO BH100 green bean harvester works. So I'm gonna give you a real quick rundown on how it picks the green beans. But if you are wanting to see more detail about exactly how everything works on this, I did make a couple videos prior to this one where I spent about 8 minutes walking around this picker explaining everything. So I'll put that link down in the description box for you. So the one row of green beans get fed in right here. There's a picking head right here of tines that spin very quickly and knock the beans off the plant. They will get flung up onto this belt. There you can see the picking fingers right there. They kind of look like the tines of a hay rake. So that belt underneath there will bring everything that's picked back here. Beans, leaves, stems, even little pieces of dirt and rocks. And then they come up underneath this hood, and this has a large updraft suction that removes any of the leaves or miniature pin beans, and only the finished product gets by. Goes up this second lift and then comes down out of this spout and where we catch them into tubs. So that is the condensed short version of how this thing works. Like I said, if you want to see more detail about it, check out the link down below. All right, we are just about ready to roll. I wanted to show you what we're picking here today. This is Valentino. We have some grass pressure out here, but that's all right. If they all look like this, that would be fantastic. These things are loaded today. Look at all those big, beautiful beans. Wow. Yeah, these look really good. Today's harvest is going to be our biggest green bean harvest of the year by far. And we might not even have another one as good as this later in the season. This one looks phenomenal. Can't wait to see how they look after picking a couple rows. Before I start picking, I always remove the hood and check all the picking fingers to make sure they're all aligned and straight and ready to go. When you hit a rock, it knocks the tines off to the side. You gotta stop and put it back in place. Everything looks good. I get a lot of questions about whether or not I can pick these beans a second time. The answer is no. See how most of the leaves are stripped off of the stalk? There's no beans left on it. Well, every now and then it'll miss a couple beans. But for the most part, it does a pretty good job. Some spots it will leave a lot of leaves on there and they will set new pods eventually. But they are mixed in with little beans that were left over or missed that are way overripe and soft and disgusting. So it's not practical to go through it again. We would prefer to just move on to a new patch, and that is why we plant a new patch of beans every week, May through the end of July. All right, we're unloading our first batch. 2, 4, 6, 8, about 8 tubs.
Should I leave this one on?
Yeah. They look really nice. Perfect green beans. This picker does an amazing job. Does the work of dozens and dozens of pickers, probably the work of 30 pickers, and it saves our backs. We're gonna slide these into the truck, get some more empty tubs. Get these beautiful beans out of the sun. So this patch isn't quite as thick as I thought. I would say we're picking closer to a bushel a minute today, not even close to 2 or 3. But we'll get what we need. I have 30 rows of Valentino, and then we only went around 4 times. And then we got 20 rows of Dark Horse. Looking forward to seeing how those do. We're making some progress. We're just about halfway done. All right, we just made a couple rounds on dark horse. That's what these three are here. I think they are slightly darker, hence the name, and glossier with more of a sheen than Valentino. I know Valentino's in the shade right here, so you can't really get a equal comparison. But these two are Valentino. They look really good, and I've always thought they were a glossy, you know, kind of shiny bean. But dark horse is better. Yield-wise, I'm not really noticing a difference, but this dark horse, man, that is a classy, fancy-looking bean. All right, I just hopped off the tractor to take a look at these dark horse beans. They're not yielding that great. I mean, the beans that are on here look nice, and they're really full and perfect for harvest. You know, no bean in them yet. See that nice, full, watery look? But there's also a lot of beans that haven't even set pods yet. And pin beans, these little immature beans. It's like all stages of bean growth on these plants. And I'm thinking it's due to the extreme heat wave we had, you know, 10 days ago. It's been hot every day, but it was really, really hot and humid there a week and a half ago. And it's affected a lot of our crops in different ways that aren't always noticeable right away. But I'm thinking these beans might be all right to hold off for a couple days. So I think I'm gonna not harvest these last 10 or 12 rows and hold off for 2 or 3 days. And if they start forming beans, I'll come out and pick them right away. But if they don't, I'm gonna give them till next Tuesday, a week from today. And maybe the yield will increase and we'll pick the rest of them then. All right, I think we're finished harvesting for today. We ended up with 34 tubs. That's gonna be about 44 bushels of beans. That should be just enough to get us through the rest of this week and Saturday farmers markets. Okay. All right, I got our 34 tubs of beans out of the truck, ready to wash and pack. I'm gonna show you some of the equipment that we use for washing and packing and the process we're gonna go through. So this water trough here is used as a dunk tub for our green beans. We will dump 3 or 4 crates in there and it will be full of water. We'll fill it up about 2/3 of the way full with cold well water. And this serves 2 purposes. So the first reason is to remove some of this field heat from these beans. They're probably 75 or 80 degrees, and the quicker we can remove that heat from the bean, the more freshness we will preserve and the longer they will last. And secondly, by dumping these beans into that tub, it gives them a pre-wash. They're pretty clean today. I mean, if you look at these beans, they look like they're ready to sell. But there is little chunks of dirt here and there that get picked up by the picker that make it through and into these tubs. So that dirt will fall to the bottom of this tub, and it kind of just gives them a pre-rinse or a pre-wash before heading up this lift. So this little lift here, or elevator, will bring the beans up. They will spill off onto this shaker table. And this serves several purposes as well. This will be vibrating and shaking, and the beans will make their way down because it's kind of sloped downward, and it has gaps in it here and here. These gaps allow for opportunities for broken bits of beans that aren't full length, that maybe got busted by the picker, or little rocks or pieces of dirt that made it through. And they will fall through there, and if they make it onto this section, they usually fall through here. So I will have a person standing on both sides of this shaker table looking for rocks, dirt, or leaves that have made it through. And we want those all removed before they fall off the shaker table onto this round table. Now here at the round table, I will have 2 more people, and that's where we will be packing the beans into 1 bushel bean crates. So we'll have someone on that side and someone on this side, and it keeps them hopping pretty good. It's a fast process, and sometimes they can barely keep up. And if they do get behind and the beans start piling up here, we'll just slow down dumping the beans up here until they get caught up. Once they get a full bushel of beans, they'll set it right here on our sponges on the veggie washer. No particular reason that we set it here other than it's convenient for me or whoever's dunking them in the final dunk tank to grab them. So we will grab the full crates and dunk them into this water trough here. So this is the second dunk, and this gives them a final wash if by chance any dirty beans made it through, and it remains cold at 55 to 60 degrees. This water will eventually warm up because we're dunking hot beans in there. So it starts off cold, but it'll get warm very quickly. So its main purpose is just to pre-wash the beans. The main purpose of this one is to bring the rest of that field heat out of the beans, get them down to about 55 or 60 degrees, and then they're ready to stack on a pallet and be rolled into the cooler, and they will last at least a week for me. They would probably last 10 days or more, but I don't need to hold them that long because we always sell out of our green beans on Saturdays, for the most part. So we will leave our beans in this dunk tank for about 30 seconds to cool down to the core of the bean. And then we'll pull them out, drain the water off a little bit, and then stack them on a pallet. So this is kind of a method of hydro cooling our beans. This black hose is continually filling the tank with cold water from down below, and then this spout at the top allows the hot water that rises to the top to flow out. So it's constantly being circulated with cold water to be kept below 60 degrees to help remove all of that field heat from the beans. So I've gotten many comments in the past about how are my beans not molding by dunking them in water. And I have never had an issue with mold ever in 15 years. And hydro-cooling beans is a common practice. All large commercial green bean operations around the world hydro-cool their beans to preserve that freshness. And our operation is no different. It's just a smaller, simpler method. This is just hydro-cooling. And I've never had any mold issues. The beans will remain wet while they're out here being stacked on a pallet, but after they've been in the cooler for a couple hours, they dry right off, and there's no more wet beans that could potentially mold. All right, so that's a little rundown of the process and equipment that we use to wash and pack our green beans. It's about 11:30 a.m. I'm gonna run inside for a quick lunch, and then at about 12:30, I got about 4 or 5 guys coming to help wash and pack all these beans, and I'll show you the whole process. This is our pre-dunk bath. We pick up armloads of beans, throw them into the lift. This is our vibrating table. We're looking for anything that doesn't belong. Leaves, stems, thistles, bugs, dirt, rocks. And we're starting to fall behind here a little bit. That's why they're all piled up here. But we can get bushels filled pretty quick. There's the ones that are ready to dunk. Here's one that just got dunked. It's been in here for about a minute. I'm gonna let it drain a little bit and then I'll get them stacked on the pallet. you can see there's a certain pattern for stacking these 1 bushel bean crates on a pallet. 3 that direction, and then 4 the other direction, and then we alternate the layers so they interlock. And we'll go all the way up to here about 42 or 49 high. Beans are looking really good. Coming out clean, perfect size, good color. So right here you can see the warm water coming out the top. If I stick my arm down the bottom, it feels a lot colder. We are just about finished with this job. All the tubs I've went through, he's just cleaning out the last couple arm loads out of the pre-dunk trough here. Look how dirty the water gets. It's warm too. It almost feels like bath water now. I've seen it much dirtier. That's really not that bad. That shows you that the beans were picked pretty clean. So we'll clean that out as good as we can. We'll even run a rake through there so we don't miss all the good beans hiding in the bottom. Just a few more crates to go. Looks like we're going to end up with about 6.5 layers. Bushel number 45. Almost exactly what I predicted. I was thinking it would be about 44. We got another half here. It's actually a little bit more than a half. Now we'll just get our mess all cleaned up, get the water troughs taken outside, and roll these beans into the cooler. Yep, that's fine. This is barely gonna fit through my cooler door. It'll be close. If I would have had any more than this, I just would have put it on a second skid. But I think 49 will fit through here. Or 7 layers, I mean. Just barely. My beans are happy and getting chilled down. 45 bushels times $75 a bushel, about $3,300. Not too bad for a couple hours of work. Everything is cleaned up and put away. This is what it looks like after we are done. We just store those pieces of equipment right there next to my tomato cooler. And the floor will dry out here in a couple hours. All ready to go for tomorrow for cucumbers and maybe bell peppers. Well, next on the agenda is packing up this box truck for a weekday farmer's market. We go to one in Hilliard on Tuesday afternoons from 4 to 7. So this truck will head out at 2 o'clock, set up between 3 and 4, and be ready to go for sales at 4 o'clock. My daughter will be going, and actually I think my son Gavin's going with her today because the girl we usually pick up that lives nearby there is sick. So it'll be my daughter and my son doing the Hilliard Farmers Market today. So I'll show you what we got on here today. 20 boxes of tomatoes, 16 crates of corn with 5 dozen each, crate of cucumbers, pickles, yellow squash under the pickles, and 3 bushels of green beans that we just picked, and some of Joel's salsa, Joel's garlic, and Joel's maple syrup. The Hilliard Farmers Market is notorious for either thunderstorms, high wind, or just being downright hot because it is on a blacktop in a parking lot of a church. And there's no chance of thunderstorms today, so I guess it's just gonna be hot. All right, got the Hilliard truck ready to go. It's about 2 p.m. They'll be heading down the road here in a few minutes. So I've stayed in contact with Emma a few times late morning, early afternoon about this second trailer location that she is running today at the Dutch Mill Greenhouse in Marysville. It's on a busy state route that connects Marysville to Kenton, Ohio, and it was a total flop. I kind of had an idea it was going to be bad. It has potential because it's a very busy state route, and Dutch Mill Greenhouse is a very, very busy place in the spring, not so much during July and August, because flowers and annuals and perennials and all those kind of things, that really slows down in the summer. So she is packing up and getting ready to head home. While she was packing up, I got a text from Allie, who was at our other satellite location in Marysville, the one at Eda's Italian Ice at 5 Points intersection, which always does good. She has been fairly busy today, and she said she's running out of this and that and the other. And I was like, well, I'll have the Hilliard truck leave a few minutes early to drop off a few things because they go right by there, right? And then it just dawned on me that, well, shoot, Emma has a full trailer and she's 5 miles away. So Emma is probably all packed up now and hitting the road and heading over to the other trailer to get it stocked up. So she should be able to offload about half of the items she has just to stock up her other trailer, and then she'll come home and I'll meet her here to help her unload the rest of it, get it cleaned up, and put it away until Friday night when we start packing it back up again for weekend farmers markets. So, these new markets, they usually don't ever go well. I guess it wasn't really a market. It was a satellite location that someone invited us to try. And I've done this numerous times. I mean, dozens and dozens of times over the last 25 years. I'm always hopeful that they will go well, and they almost always never do. We've had a couple successful ones at hospitals. So about 15 years ago, some of the hospitals and other businesses around Columbus would reach out to us and say, hey, would you set up one day a week for a couple hours in our parking lot for our employees? Because they would get some kind of healthcare benefits or discounts if they would have offerings for their employees, like vegetables, fruits and vegetables from a vendor. So we started doing that at several different locations around Columbus. I remember doing one at Mettler, Toledo, which is used to make scales. Maybe they still do make weighing scales. And we've done probably 3 different hospitals over the years. And sometimes they do good, but it never lasts. They always kind of peter out, fizzle out, and it's just not worth our while to drive all the way there to not do really well. With all the time and energy on my part, fuel, hiring staff to man the stand, and sometimes it's several staff. So I've kind of learned over the years what works best for us is just doing farmers markets and our one really good roadside stand at Ida's Italian Ice. Well, folks, I think this is where we're going to wrap this one up today. Coming up tomorrow, another big day of picking corn. Actually, almost every day is a big day of picking corn. Fortunately, the raccoons have moved out of the corn patch that we are picking tomorrow. Like I mentioned in a prior video, they know right when to get into it before it's ready, before we start picking it. So I've moved my noisemakers to a new patch that is not ready to be picked yet, and that they have started moving into. So I want to stay on top of that and make sure they don't destroy our next patch. But we'll be picking another wagon load tomorrow, and then Thursday and Friday we'll be picking probably 2 loads each day to get prepared for another big weekend farmers market day. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all again next time down on the farm.